we go. Don't spin out now. No panic! No panic! I'm very much here.
The Uncharted franchise has found much success through the years. Beyond being a critically acclaimed IP, the series is also living proof that a video game can achieve a cinematic feel thanks to proper motion capture performances. Naughty Dog have continuously raised the bar in the action-adventure genre, and with Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, they've once again thrown down the gauntlet. Saying this is an amazing game isn't enough to describe what the developers have done. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is probably one of the best products to come out of this industry. There's a lot Naughty Dog has done to make Uncharted 4: A Thief's End an unforgettable experience. For one, the pacing of the campaign grips you tight and never lets go. Once I started this adventure, the urge to keep playing never went away. Nathan Drake's latest yarn revolves around his brother Sam Drake, whom he presumed dead for 15 years. After the events of the last 3 games, we find Nate now older and out of the game, living a normal life with his wife, Elena Fisher. Out of the blue, Sam injects himself back into Nathan's life and draws his little brother back into the world of treasure hunting. The inclusion of Sam Drake was done with care. Even though he was never mentioned in the previous games, Uncharted 4 gives the player enough information and time to get to know the other witty Drake. By the time you hit the second half of the campaign, his character, motivations, and relationships with the other characters are clearly laid out. Returning characters such as Victor Sullivan, Elena Fisher, and of course the main man himself, Nathan Drake, show growth during the campaign. It's been years since their last adventure together, and everything we love about them is intact. But they're driven by different needs and priorities now. This makes for a refreshing take on characters we've known for years. Sam's interactions with the old crew are also a treat.
Well, give it a pull.
What? Could be a trap.
You're already in there. What's the worst that could happen?
I lose my hand?
So we'll get you a nice hook. Give it a pull.
The antagonists Nadine and Rafe may not be as menacing as previous villains, but their motivations are properly explained. This is a highly personal journey for Nathan Drake, and it was told exceptionally well. Pacing is also in check when it comes to the gameplay. Naughty Dog did well in juggling different types of gameplay, adding challenges incrementally to keep the player invested. There's a spike later in the game that changes the way you climb, but the addition of what I call the indie rope makes climbing a fun and inviting experience. Climbing sections are no longer, oh, a few button presses and you're on top kind of affair. Nathan's trusty rope is probably the best new feature, and thanks to well-placed beams and poles, it provides more mobility during gunfights.
Watch this.
I'm watching.
I missed.
It also gives players the opportunity to admire the scenery because damn, this is a gorgeous looking game. Climbing is doubly rewarding for all the eye candy, and I may have played around a bit too much with the photo mode during my playthrough. Gunfights don't break the mold of your typical third-person cover shooter, but there's added features to spice up the gameplay. For one, most of the cover you'll find in the game thin out the longer it's hit by gunfire, urging players to keep moving. Stealth is more implied here in A Thief's End, and there isn't always a pipeline filled with enemies to kill. Most of the time you get the element of surprise, giving the player a chance to sneak past enemies or kill them silently. Sometimes when things go south, hiding for a bit can get the enemy off your scent. It's a nice change, and I appreciate the added option because you're not in the mood every now and then for shooting 30 thugs in the next 5 minutes. Driving is a new feature in the game, and certain single-player chapters provide a 4x4 Jeep to explore and traverse the landscape. These stages were a big highlight for me since you get to take in the visuals, hear the hilarious banter between the characters, or simply satisfy the explorer in you. Puzzles are back, and the developers pack in rooms and death traps that require you to think in order to move forward. Fistfights are more dynamic, and your friendly character's AI aren't useless. They actually help. They'll help you get out from an enemy chokehold, actually shoot and kill enemies, and even tag team with Nate for a satisfying team takedown. All these gameplay features are placed well to remove any form of redundancy during this 10 to 12 hour campaign. Oh, and the big set pieces?
Here they come!
They are still as crazy and entertaining as ever. Multiplayer makes a return, and this feels like a safe approach from Naughty Dog. Unlike the dynamic maps introduced in Uncharted 3, we now have static maps that complement the new rope mechanic. New features include psychics that allow you to summon an AI-controlled partner that can either support your team or be a menace to your enemies. Relic items are also new to the multiplayer and add a supernatural element to the mix. One relic allows the player to lob a totem to damage nearby enemies, while another lets players move quickly through the map. While it's as fun as the other Uncharted multiplayer offerings before it, they haven't had much to keep you invested after a few weeks. Or rather, in a few weeks. While it's a great distraction, multiplayer is definitely not the highlight of Uncharted 4. This game brings a lot to the table. With all the gameplay features, cutscenes, visually stunning environments, and textured detail, you'd expect to experience a lot of hitches along the way. I did find a few, but they are so minimal that I was never detached from the experience. This game was handled with care, and there's no denying that. From the amount of detail in the character animations interacting with the environments, to the different locales you visit on various continents, this degree of quality is still rare to this day. Naughty Dog should be proud with the work they've done in what could be their last Uncharted game. This was the perfect way to close the books on characters we've come to know and love since 2007. This is a game that could be an inspiration for writers, actors, and would-be developers in the future. Your expectations will be higher than ever for action-adventure games after you play this. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End will be talked about for months for many different reasons, and deservedly so. This is pure entertainment at its best.